Hey, so last week I almost got scammed, and I've got a great letter coming up from that from someone who used to work at a bank. We'll get to it later in the show. But that little crisis was averted, and then after this 5G debacle, not the burning the tower, but our dongle debacle, the DD. I was like, fuck it. I'm signing up for Starlink. It's the only way to get past
okay.
this.
Yes.
The other thing we've worked out is that your internet is actually okay.
Yes.
So the way the platform we're using is Riverside. So Will and I record in real time, but it sends HD audio and video to our computers, then uploads it in real time. So we can see, Mike's upload, my upload, and Will's. Mine moves at a snail's pace. Like, I think by the time we finished recording last week, Mike's was fully uploaded. Yours was 70% uploaded. Mine was 15% uploaded. So,
well, can I ask you a question that we haven't spoken about? Can you see me clearly at the moment? Because the way this technology is meant to work is we won't necessarily see each other clearly in real time, but because it's recording separately, it comes across as good regardless of it. But in a general call, how clearly are you seeing me when we talk to each other?
Pretty pixelated. It's not the best connection.
Okay, same. Okay, so that's what I get for you as well. Like, I stare at you in this kind of pixelated version of you.
It's like 64-bit. It's like we're playing Super Mario.
It's like TOFOP was a Super Mario, like a computer game, a Commodore 64 game. That's basically, it's like TOFOP the game, and I kind of just see that.
Yeah, well, that's the idea, is they don't waste bandwidth on the actual streaming to each other. That's all. We're getting HD to our computers, and that'll upload. So I need the Starlink more desperately. So I was like, fuck this shit. I called Telstra. They thankfully said, yeah, okay, we're going to, because I'd signed up for, a year, and they canceled the contract. They've sent me a couple envelopes to send the dongles back. Then they also they
had to do that, by the way, after that one woman you'd spoken to just laughed and said that's the completely wrong thing to suggest. Like, that was on tape. She'd admitted to the fact that they had misled you.
Yeah. But one of them was like, and the boxes are unopened. And I'm like, no, of course not. Like, how could I tell you that it wasn't working? The boxes were unopened. So one is unopened that I was going to send to my mate, but that one's definitely not getting sent. So you got one that's open. I was so furious. But anyway, they've agreed to refund. So I was like, all right, fuck it. I'm going to sign up for Starlink. Oh, that was the other thing, is a bunch of teabaggers on the Facebook page were saying Charlie's an idiot. Like, you can sign up for Starlink without an American Express card. It's really easy. It arrives in 2 weeks, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, okay, I'm not scared about signing up for this potential Musk scam. So I go to Starlink, I go to sign up, and I'm like, I'll just get my wallet. And so I go to where I usually keep my wallet. My wallet's not there. I go upstairs to the other place I keep my wallet's not there. Now, I don't know what you're like these days, but I got everything on my phone, like credit cards, my driver's license, Medicare. So I hardly ever take my wallet out. But because of the floods, and because, ATMs have been offline and stuff, I had been taking my wallet out because I had some cash in it. So then I was like, fucking hell. Like, the one time I've taken my wallet out of the house, because I could not find it anywhere in the usual spots. I only keep it in like two areas. It's either in my bedside drawer or on the desk in my office. So I couldn't find it there. So then I'm like, oh God, we went and saw the Batman last Friday, and I took a little bit of medicine before we went, and I was wearing loose fitting linen pants because it's the Northern Rivers. And then I was trying to remember in my medicated experience, where, because I remember I went while Jen was lining up for drinks, I went to the bathroom, and I actually sat down on the toilet, so I did take my pants down, so that means stuff can fall out. But at the same time, I had a clear memory of, you're wearing loose linen pants, Charlie, like, you got to keep your vape and your keys and your stuff all together, like, don't let that shit like fall out of your pockets. So I called the cinema. They're like, nothing's been handed in. I'm like, okay, the cinema is part of like a big building complex. So then I go to the building complex. Do you guys have is there like an office or a security lost property? No, you'll have to go to the police station. So it's getting like bigger and bigger. And I don't know what you're like with like lost property or like how, like if you see that there's been no activity, so it hasn't been stolen, you don't think it's been stolen, but you think it's been lost. How long do you give it before you start, canceling shit and replacing stuff?
Basically, when I've looked everywhere that I think that it could possibly be, I would like to rule out as much as I can possibly rule out myself.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's more likely that it's fallen out of my pants down the back of the couch, or I've left it in the car, or like, you know, one of those sort of, I'm just going to have to do all those things first. I'm going to have to check every cupboard. I'm going to have to think about, did I have groceries? Maybe I put it away with the groceries. I would like rule out every one of those things before I start canceling things.
Yeah, yeah. So would you, like, how far though would you extend the search? Because I had to retrace my steps. And so I know that I had done a trip to Lismore to drop off some supplies on the Friday. So Thursday night was the last time I remember having my card, because that's how I booked the movie tickets. I used my credit card in my office. Thursday day, I drove to Lismore to drop off some stuff to a guy who I'd been helping out. And so in my head, I'm like, I did take my wallet because he didn't know if it's going to need cash. The street I was at was been this huge cleanup operation, bobcats and shit like that. And it was a bad thought, but you know, I did have the thought, because I did leave the car open, because I popped the boot, was taking stuff from my boot, walking to this guy's. There's a bit of a 50-meter walk to take stuff to this guy's garage. And I'm like, would someone have come by and like grabbed it off my console or the dashboard? But if they had stolen it, there's been no activity on the card.
Right.
Is it more likely that I've dropped it in the...
It's more likely you've dropped it, because like...
Dropped it in the mud.
The idea that somebody would take it, you know what? There's a lot of desperate people at the moment in incredibly desperate circumstances. And the idea that someone took it, there'd almost be a part of me that was like, let's see what they spend for the first few days. This might be my contribution to some, like, I'll just like write this off as flood relief, donations. They need it, right? You know what? I'm not going to bring them a box of shit they might not eat. They're clearly eating out themselves. This is good.
Okay. All right. So you're monitoring that. Yeah. All right. And so you see, okay, $200 at Woolworths. You're like,
great.
All right, that's okay.
Fantastic.
And then you're like,
you know what? I feel good. I'm actually walking around the house. I'm like, this is fantastic. I've just bought them $200 worth of food.
Okay. So Bunnings good?
Yeah, Bunnings. Absolutely. Good? Fantastic. Helping rebuild. Okay. Woolworths is great.
Dan Murphy's. $100 at Dan Murphy's.
Yeah, 100. If it's less than groceries, yeah, I'm fine with that. People need a drink to get through the situation. If it's that, I'm not going to judge. Yeah, fine. 100. Okay. Yeah, if the drinks are half the groceries, I'm still fine with this.
Okay. They've bought tickets to a comedy festival show, Carl Barron.
Oh, well, you can't fault that. I mean, have they bought any more tickets?
In Australia. All right, so that'll out. Okay. $150 gets spent at Sexyland on the Gold Coast.
On the Gold Coast?
So Sexyland's like an adult shop.
I mean, I would have had a guess if I didn't know. So, no, that's still fine. This is a separate day, right? They bought no other groceries or alcohol this day. This is just $150 at Sexyland. You know what? That's fine. You know what?
Maybe it's a partner's birthday or something like that.
You don't know what it is. Like, or maybe, you know what the thing is? In emergency circumstances, you have to improvise around like safety equipment and stuff like that. Maybe they've just gone into Sexyland for like, you know, like strapping belts, like ties, rubber gloves, like they maybe lubrication they need for some sort of purpose. They've run out of that, like flotation devices. Maybe there's a few people just with some blow up dolls under their arms getting rescued for flood situations. I'm fine with that.
Okay. All right. Then the next transaction you see is $1,000 on crypto.
Okay. We're done. I'm calling the bank.
You cancel the card. To see the full video, join our Patreon.
Patreon.com/TOFOP.